Who is Edgar Allan Poe? As she sang and danced, he delighted in her smile, her beauty, her absolute love, that he loved her every step and worshipped her every syllable. Finally, he had a family, a devoted wife and wonderful mother-in-law all his own. He was safe from a saturnine existence of loneliness wrought by desertion and death. One sweet syllable brought a cough of blood, and they knew. Edgar Allan Poe and his mother-in-law Maudie Clem knew, this was consumption, the White Death. This was not the first time tuberculosis would tear his heart asunder. When he was a toddler, Poe, his older brother William Henry, and their infant sister Rosalie witnessed Eliza Poe, their maternal progenitor, wither away from the White Death. Eliza Poe was 24. She had struggled valiantly to support her children as her acting troupe performed dozens of roles in theaters from Richmond to Boston. His paternal progenitor, David Poe, the scion of a notable Boston family, had, months before, deserted his young bride and their 3 progeny. The 3 children were scattered, William Henry to relatives in Baltimore and Edgar and Rosalie to 2 foster families in Richmond, Virginia. The Allan family, John Allan and his wife Frances Allan, took little Edgar. Frances Allan, herself adopted, doted on young Edgar. She encouraged his precocity and praised his perspicuity. Edgar received an uncommon education. From ages 6 to 11, some sources say 9, he schooled in Scotland, John Allan's birthplace, and in London, where he mastered Latin and French, as well as literature and history, until a global economic downturn forced John Allan to return the family to Richmond. In Richmond, Poe excelled in letters, old-fashioned meaning scholarship and academia. His athletic feats were no less august. He swam a distance of 7.5 miles in a hot June sun, and against a tide of 3 miles per hour. Edgar was 15. Edgar's athletic and academic feats, however, would never be enough to impress John Allan, who paid for Edgar's schooling but did not encourage young Edgar's literary ambitions. However, Jane Stannard, the mother of a childhood friend and who treated Edgar like a son, exhorted him in his writing. She died of a brain tumor when Edgar was 15. For the second time, a mother figure went to be with the angels. Edgar could often be found crying and holding vigil at her gravesite at night. Sarah Elmira Shelton soon consumed Poe's attention. They became completely enamored with one another. John Allan and Elmira's family, however, were not so enamored of the budding romance. Allan had began seeing several paramours around Richmond, produced several progeny, and was quite ready to be rid of Edgar. Edgar and Elmira were torn asunder when John Allan sent Edgar to the University of Virginia, founded by Thomas Jefferson. There can be little doubt of Allan's intention to separate the two rather than to further Edgar's education, for he gave Poe but a fraction of the cost of his school fees. To make up the difference, Poe took to gambling. Poe's natural powers to turn a phrase and prick the pulse with his pen did not translate to winning hands at the card table. He accumulated more than $2,000 in gambling debts, or $50,000 in today's money. John Allan did not come to Poe's rescue. Letter from John Allan, December 22, 1828.
If you determine to abandon me, here I take my farewell. Neglected, I will be doubly ambitious, and the world shall hear of the son whom you thought unworthy of your notice.
After leaving the University of Virginia, Poe enlisted in the army, perhaps in an attempt to avoid being jailed in debtors' prisons and perhaps to win John Allan's approval. He proved a good soldier and rose in rank. While in the army, Edgar Allan Poe published his first collection of poetry, Tamerlane and other poems, but received little remuneration. When relations with Allan did not improve, Poe left the army. With John Allan's second marriage and a biological progeny, Allan was now certain to never again be Poe's benefactor. With no reason to continue at West Point to appease John Allan and with Allan's refusal to help him leave West Point, Poe intentionally began to neglect his duties and was formally court-martialed and dishonorably discharged from West Point on March 6, 1831. When Francis Allan succumbed to consumption, Poe and John Allan reconciled for a while. Poe enlisted at West Point, where he, like in the army, wanted to win the approval of Allan and became a good soldier. Edgar Allan Poe in an epistle to John Allan, Baltimore, April 12, 1833.
It has now been more than 2 years since you have assisted me, and more than 3 since you have spoken to me. I feel little hope that you will pay any regard to this letter, but still I cannot refrain from making one more attempt to interest you in my behalf. If you will only consider in what a situation I am placed, you will surely pity me, without friends, without any means, consequently, of obtaining employment. I am perishing, absolutely perishing for want of aid. And yet I am not idle, nor addicted to any vice, nor have I committed any offense against society which would render me deserving of so hard a fate. For God's sake, pity me and save me from destruction.
The birth of a son in 1831 gave Allan a legal heir. With Allan growing desperately ill, Poe made a visit to Richmond around February 14, 1834. Thomas Ellis recalled in 1881 that Poe had to push his way past Mrs. Allan to see his ailing foster father. John Allan, using what little strength was left him, raised his cane, and threatened to strike him if he came within his reach, ordered him out, upon which Poe withdrew, and that was the last time they ever met. When John Allan died on March 27, 1834, his will made no mention of Poe. Shortly thereafter, Poe went to Baltimore, Maryland to live at the home of Miss Maria Muddy Clem. He tried his hand at fiction and literary criticism in hopes of making a living. Poe became the editor of an influential magazine, the Southern Literary Messenger, but soon fell out with his employer. His obstinacy and bouts of inebriation soon relieved him of his editorial duties. These triumphs and travesties would become tropes and slowly lead Poe down a darker path of drink and substance. Years later, when Poe married Virginia, he was safe, finally safe from loneliness and desolation. Finally, fate had brought him a family, a devoted wife and a mother-in-law all his own. Poe wrote more, and drank less. Until a cough of blood. Note: Poe is believed to have written The Raven when it was quite certain that his wife Virginia would not recover from tuberculosis, which also claimed his biological mother Elizabeth Eliza Poe, his adopted mother Frances Allan, and his brother William Henry. On the morning of October 7, 1849, roughly 2 years after his wife's passing, Edgar Allan Poe went to join Virginia, Francis, Jane, Eliza, and William.
Lord, help my poor soul.
Edgar Allan Poe reportedly uttered as he slipped in and out of consciousness at Washington College Hospital in Baltimore. Edgar Allan Poe was 40 years old.
To all who love Edgar Allan Poe, in Poe's time, there were no literary copyright laws. Moreover, publishers routinely paid writers a pittance for their work. The young Edgars among us today, however, can copyright their work and receive proper remuneration. Had Poe lived today, he would have been able to lift himself out of debilitating poverty. He could have easily published his poetry and short stories on YouTube and on his own website. There were no school counselors in Poe's time. There were no mental health sites to seek for succor. Were Poe alive today, he would have been able to sit with someone who could help him see his worth, help him understand the impact he could have if he just held on. The military in Poe's time paid their enlisted a pittance and had very few benefits. If Poe were to enlist in today's military, he could stabilize his life and continue his writing until things took off. Therefore, for those of us who love Poe, let us honor him by uplifting and exhorting those like him, the depressed, the desolate, the dreary. Let us honor him by matching his zeal for the written and spoken word.